Hey everybody, Mean Joe with Balsa USA. So here we are, this Mr. Chuck Hamilton on the other end of this, a little bit south of Mean Joe. This is Balsa USA South, and I say Chuck is Balsa USA Souther. So welcome to the next episode. This is actually going to be episode 8. It's hard to believe we've done 8 episodes under our belt already, but when you're doing them 3 times a week, they stack up fast. So in this episode, we're going to cover the construction of the rear stab. I want to make sure you don't forget, if you are interested in building along with us, if you swing over to balsausa.com and enter in the coupon code N17BUILD, all caps, no spaces, you will receive 10% off of your very own 6-scale Balsa USA Nieuport 17, so you can follow along with the build. So how do we get done? How are we doing this week so far?
We're good. Last episode, we left off pretty much the fuselage is about, I'm going to say 95% complete. The main construction's built. All the key components are in place. What's left on the fuselage is anything we're going to do with the firewall and the motor system, tail skid mount, and some final touching things, getting ready for covering, and before that, mounting the wing system. So that's where we're at. That took approximately about 5.5, 6 episodes. Guys, I went really quick. It was awesome. And now take that part, once you got that part built, give it a nice fresh look over, maybe final sanding, and just put it off in the corner, stand it up on its side or there on its nose, and admire it. Clean the bench, and let's get on to the horizontal step, the flying bits, as they say.
Okay, couple of things quick. I've got to add us to Facebook. Sorry about that.
All right. That's all right. Go for it.
There we go. Sorry, guys, that are just joining us on Facebook. I forgot to click that button, so that's my fault. Thank you, sir, Mr. Dan Landis, for letting us know. How we doing?
Thanks,
welcome to the chat, everybody. I see Dale and Wild Bill and Gettysburg 114th. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for showing up. Cover a couple of things that we've talked about real quick before we really dig in. I wanted to point out, first of all, we keep talking about this tool company, and I'm actually, I've got my stuff ordered. The miter box and the things like what Chuck's showing there on screen, this Foremost products, they've got some really cool construction projects. I recommend that you check them out. That's going to be foremostproducts.com. They got some really nice stuff there for building supplies. It's really kind of cool. Don't forget, swing over by the YouTube channel and subscribe. Check to make sure you're subscribed. We have got 100 subscribers that we need before we can pull the trigger on the quarter scale of your choice giveaway. So make sure you get over there and subscribe. Share it, subscribe, let everybody know, share it, and that way we can get this quarter scale kit given away. And also, Chuck brought up, don't forget to hit that bell. That bell lets you know when we're going live so that you're good to go. How we doing, John and Carl? It's good to see you. All right, so let's go ahead and get, I don't know, I wanted to point this out too. We actually forgot last episode to point out to go ahead and get your laminations put together. So if you haven't done that yet, it's all good. You can still follow along. I put out a video yesterday kind of reminding people to get their laminations put together. If you didn't get that done, it's not that big of a deal. You can come back and catch up with us later because that's going to take a few minutes. So let's go ahead and dig right into the build and let's get started.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone that's joining us. We've had a couple of followers from overseas. Welcome and thank you. We've had actually some good kit sales. Go over there as well. Please post those pictures. Let's see how your progress is going. That way we can see how you're doing, if there's any issues or problems. And as we go through this is kind of like our fine-tooth comb look through on how the project is, our quality control on the manuals versus the plans. And Joe's doing a great job updating those as we discover them. Joe and I are doing a lot of notes and things off-site or off-camera, backstage, as they say, and to make this thing as easy to build for you guys as well. So moving forward today, clean the bench, get everything off of it. I did something for you guys today that I don't do, is I cut my plans. And I cut just the stab section off. And that was from one of my one of the followers reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're getting a lot of overhead glare kind of thing," and it was probably from my plans, my lights up above, hitting those plans and stuff. So I cut just the horizontal out. I put it on my bench, and it makes things a little bit nicer, neater, organized, and also showing you guys actually what tools I'm using. And I'm actually using some very simple products or tools to build this plane. Like I said, Joe said on the foremost, this thing is becoming invaluable, the little chop block, okay? They do make different sizes. So, and I'll let Joe chime in on that one as well. But this has been a nice little invaluable tool. My Zona saw for larger pieces. My Midwest Products gauge triangle. What's really neat about this, if you guys are struggling with sizes of wood and it says 3/16 by a quarter, you know, that's kind of hard to tell sometimes. But the neat thing on this is, I just grab a piece here. These have little notch out gauges, all right? And those notch out gauges, let me know if that's a 3/16 or a quarter and how that fits in there. Kind of really invaluable. And they sell them in a couple different sizes. Like I said, this one's from Midwest Products. I've got 2 different sizes. This is just the small one for a smaller airplane. But this really, if you're unsure of what size sticks to use, even though it says it on the plans, but to look at it and to get your ruler out and kind of look at it, this just makes it real quick and easy. Just another little tip. For this construction, I'm going to be mostly using thin CA. I'll probably only be using the thick CA is when I join the elevators with the dowel in the middle. So that being said, let's build. As Joe mentioned earlier as well about laminations, I just want to do a little tip. I've already done my laminations, and what I've done, I use my laminations with thick CA when I normally did it in the middle, and I joined them together. I didn't use a lot of CA, guys. I did it just enough to hold it together, and here's why. Because later on, after this thing is built, and you're going to start sanding these edges, if any of the CA oozes out on all the edges, you're going to get a hard spot or rough spot. So as much as you try to sand and make a nice radius or round edge, when it hits that thick spot in that CA, that clump, it's going to, your sanding block is almost going to jump over that. So you're going to start getting this wavy look, if you will. All right. So do just a thick CA in there, just enough to hold together. And then once you have it sanded and everything's pretty, take your thin CA, all right, and wick it down in there, and then wipe it off nice and clean, and you'll have a nice, tough, laminated, very strong part.
That's one of the things I often do too when I'm doing my laminations. I keep some paper towel handy, so if in case I get a little bit extra on there, if you wipe it off quick before
get it off of there,
it makes it a lot easier. It's kind of hard to do, and what I've done is I can reach right here. I got a thing full of Q-tips. I keep an old high-tech servo box that I keep Q-tips in, and I keep a roll of paper towels within reach. Anytime I'm doing laminations and I see any oozing, get that off of there quick, and it won't cause you any problems down the road because it gets nasty if it gets out there and gets hard. Real quick, since he mentioned it, I want to make sure that I talk about this quick. Here is the Midwest tools, and the reason why I'm bringing it up. Oop, that's the wrong tab. I gotta start over. It's not going to let me share that tab. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we've actually had a lot of questions, and because Chuck mentioned it, I brought it up, and I just wasn't quick enough on the draw. So Midwest Tools or MidwestProducts.com. If you go over to their products section and tools, they have some really cool stuff, but there's 2 in particular that we've already talked about. They have Chuck's Hobby and Craft Square. That's the one he showed earlier. It's $6. Mm-hmm. And they also have the grip pins. I have gotten a plethora of questions about the grip pins. And the grip pins for $50 are $7.96. Those are the little red tipped pins that everybody keeps commenting on. They have those there. They've got a miter box. They've got a scale lumber gauge. They've got all kinds of stuff to help you along with your build. So I wanted to bring that up before I forgot.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. That's what this is all about. Okay, so continuing with the theme of laminations and building the elevators and the horizontal stab, the trailing edge of the horizontal stab and the leading edge of the elevators are laminations. And the reason that we're doing laminations on this is that along with that adhesive, that'll make that trailing edge part warp free. All right. So by adding that glue, laminating them together, it makes for a strong trailing edge. So you won't get any warp or twisting along with the leading edge on the elevator. So, and this is where the I've noted where the plans and the photos have a discrepancy. In the photos, it shows the laminations as more or less one piece straight across. On the plans, you'll notice at the tips on the horizontal stabilizer, which is what we're building, there's actually cutouts or notch outs for the sides. I'm building to the plans. So what you should do is I just pin that down. Pin your straight edge to the trailing edge, all right? And then with your pen, mark where that notch out is going to be on the plans on both sides. Use your cutter, boom, cut it. So now you see that you have angle pieces on each end. And then what we're going to do is we're going to laminate that over the plans and against the straight edge to make a nice, soft, strong piece that already has the notch outs kind of pre-built, if you will, into it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so we can get this thing going and get a horizontal stab. Get the flying parts. That's kind of the cool part. This is where the process of the build should pick up pretty quickly. So I'm going to do this. Flips it over that.
This step here, probably the most complicated section, or I shouldn't say complicated, the most time-consuming part of this whole section is going to be your laminations, just because you've got to wait on them to dry. That's it. I'm going to
show you something here, Joe, that will keep that going a little. Hopefully, keep the guys going a little bit. So, what I'm going to do is on these laminations. All right, I've got no glue down right now, none, or adhesive. I'll put it that way. I have them pinned in place against the straight edge to ensure that they're straight horizontally and vertically. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thin CA, and once again, guys, we're spot welding. Remember that? Keep keeping that term in there. We're kind of spot welding that thin CA because it will wick, and I'm going about every ½ inch. All right, and I'm kind of holding it while it's curing. All right, we're almost done there.
I see Ronnie's in.
Hey, Ronnie. He's at work today, so he's watching from work. You didn't hear that.
Right.
I won't tell you.
He's actually on his way home, he said. He said he was on his way home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Ulysses from Argentina is in. Looking forward to getting his kit in the next couple of days.
Welcome. Okay, so I have the trailing edges laminated. Now, what I'll do is once it's built off the board, I'll flip it upside down. I'll wick thin CA there again, and that will make a nice, strong, tight lamination and a warp free. So next step is we're going to take our ½ inch by ¼ inch leading edge, and we're going to use the straight edge again. And I'm using that straight edge just to ensure a nice, straight alignment. Normally on the larger pieces like that, it's not really required. But when you start doing those laminations and some of those lighter pieces, that is when you need that strong straight edge. So
that's the same process as we did before that we showed in a couple of the first videos where we lay the ruler down on the bench. One of the things that I don't know if you said, because I was clicking, did we talk about making sure your bench was still flat?
No, we did not. I got to the point where I was cleaning the bench, but that was it.
When you clean your bench off, it's pretty important to go back through when you're getting everything cleaned off and put your ruler back down on your bench just to verify that your bench is still completely flat. You don't want to build any warp or any twist into your wing parts especially. It's critical with the fuselage, but it's really critical with the wing parts.
Really critical.
So when you get your bench cleaned off,
you can't trim the fuse, but you can trim the wing.
Right. Before you get your stuff out and get it down on the table, go ahead and recheck that bench to make sure you're still perfectly flat, because it does, climate changes, heats up, cools down, things move around while you're working. And
plus you're pressing down. If you're doing any shims underneath, you're leaning on this thing, you're pressing down on it. That's a very good point, Joe. All right. My lamination of the center part of the stab, and now I'm going to start going in and adding my cross members or my vertical members, which are the 3/16 by ¼ Once again, if you're unsure of what those parts are, go ahead, use your handy dandy little Midwest products and find out which one it is. That's not it. 3/16 by quarter. There it is. And that's where this sticks, when I just both pick them up, are almost, they look to me almost identical. But there is a very, very slight difference. And I'll show you just by grabbing it. They're both the same thickness, but there's a width difference. And I'll just put them up there for you like that just to show you. So I need the 3/16 by quarter.
You should get
once again, guys.
You should get a commission off of that, because this is how I've been doing it with a ruler. So you should get a commission, because I'm going to be ordering one of those today, actually.
You know, what's neat, it even has circle templates in there for dowels and things like that. And I will go for builds without using that. And all of a sudden I'll discover it on a project like this. And it'll be like, God, why haven't I been using this thing all along? It's one of those great little projects. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start marking my vertical members here. I'm just going to do my tick mark. And once again, guys, I always tend to cut a little long and do a final sand and trim back. And what I'm going to do in order to save time here is I'm going to fit one, see how it fits, trim it as needed, or trim sand it as needed, and then I'm going to test it against all the other ones, and I should be within, really, if everything I did straight and true. See, that one's just a little bit. Don't go too tight, guys, where you're actually warping or pushing or moving the wood. Just get it so it fits in there, it falls right into place. There we go.
One of the things that's going to be real important for this step, we already kind of talked about, make sure you're watching your joints. Your wing parts especially, you got to make sure you get good joints, because if that's where your strength comes from. Your wings take a lot more flexing and a lot more abuse than your fuselage does. So make sure on your wings especially, you take the time, cut them a little long, like Chuck said, and sand to these dimensions. You're going to want real good, strong joints on your wing.
And avoid when you're sanding, learn to go like a swipe at a time. You don't have to bear on it. You're just clipping it, all right? See, that one just fell right in place. Now, I test fit those other ones while Joe was talking, and all the other ones fit as well. So now I'm using that master, if you will, and I'm going to use that one and cut all the other ones so they all just fall right in place. We'll do one here. We'll test it. Missed my mark, that's why. Thank goodness for cutting it long, guys. There it is. Boom. All right. Cut another one, and we're good. Then I'll just use thin CA. I'll whip that in there, get that going. Beautiful.
Kevin, keep in mind, if you swing over, I see Kevin's comment on there. He hopes to be able to get one day. Right now is the perfect opportunity to get on and buy the Nieuport 17 using coupon code N17BUILD in the cart, and you will receive 10% off. So right now is the perfect opportunity to grab up this 1.6 Nieuport.
All right, so I got the left side in. I'm going to lay the right side in. Those are falling right into place, guys, like they're supposed to. All right. I'm just going to put a pin in each one, just hold it. Remember, guys, when we talked about our wood selection as well? This is on the area on the horizontal stabilizer and the leading edges where I try to pick, if I have a choice, I try to pick the strongest wood for that application, which would be the trailing edge on the stab and the leading edge on the elevators. So now they're all good. A little bit of thin CA, we're going to wick into those parts. Gosh, I love this stuff.
Ronnie says he apologizes for not being here, but he was out maidening his today.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't doubt it.
Just kidding.
Okay. Next step, step 5. We're basically going to do the same thing to the trailing edge of the elevators. We're going to create those laminations, which I have right here. Once again, and the plans, or I'm sorry, the pictures show that that notch out is in there on the pictures on the manual. It does not. I'm going to the plans. I'm building the plans. So once again, just like I did on the trailing edge of the elevator, or of the stabilizer, I'm sorry, I created that notch out so it will look something about like that. All right. And what that does, that allows for, let me grab a piece of balsa wood. So that would be now the side. And so when that notches out in there, it's going to fit something like that. I don't know if you can see that very good or not, but
I'm trying to
that's
get
how
back to
that
you.
kind of looks on the plans. And what that does, that increases the gluing surface on everything. So you get a nice tight corner and junction fit on everything. So see that notch out, I'll kind of pull it apart here, guys, for you to see. And then that will fit just like that. Where on the plan or on the pictures, it kind of shows it like that. All right, if that makes sense or not to you guys. So I'm going with the stronger joint here in this one. So we got my parts cut, just like we talked about earlier on leading edge. Now, one thing it does too, it says take a scrap piece of 1/16 balsa, and we're going to put that between the trailing edge of the elevator, trailing edge of the stabilizer and the leading edge of the elevator. So remember that scrap box, guys. That's where I'm going back to. This is all my scraps. We're all die cut parts. Actually, that's just for you guys' record. We're actually using die sheet number 34 to build. So if you're looking through your manual and you haven't kind of pre-assembled those parts like we talked about, or pre-sorted those parts like we talked about in the first episode, this is all the parts we're using today are from die sheet number 74. So I got to dig around in here and find some 1/16 balsa scrap, and there it is.
There's
And
the
what they want
gap
us to
Chuck's
do-
talking about right there with the
Yep.
1/16. That's the gap you're looking for. Rodney,
I'm just
yes,
gonna
you can
put-
go on the YouTube channel and watch the rest of the videos in succession.
And catch up. If you want to join us and get in the build, please do that and catch up with us on the build. We're probably on the fuselage. We're about 5 hours on the build. So that's not bad. Jump on in and catch up with us. So, all right. Sorry, guys. I mislaid my parts. So I've got the gap spaces in there. Going for the lamination. Once again, I am just perfect. Gonna pin that in place. I want one more scrap piece. Actually, I'm gonna do 2. And then, guys, I'm just snapping these, tearing these off, and just putting there as gaps. That's all I'm doing. I'm not being, it doesn't need to be precise. It's, all it is gap fillers. And then I am pinning my pieces right next to that, because I know my horizontal stabilizer, trailing edge is nice and straight. That's pinned down. I use my ruler. So now I'm using that as my gauge. All right, I have that lamination in place, but it is not glued yet. And I'm going to go in there right now, and I'm just going to start tacking it in place. And like I said, once this is off the board and I start doing some sanding, I will go through and I will trim this again, or I'll spot weld all my little. Perfect. One more makes me happy. Perfect there. Like I said, guys, I'm going about every ½ an inch and allowing that CA to wick in into the balsa fibers, and that's what makes it that strong joint. It just literally kind of does that and ties it in. So perfect. All right, now we get to flip the page. So the next step on all this is basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the cross members on the side and then start building one elevator half by laying in the pieces. So in order to, let's finish the stab first. So there's my ½ inch by 1/4. I'm just going to lay that over the plan. Remember those, and this is where the notch outs are really going to come into play and add that really nice, strong, tight joint. And I'm not letting the glue be the joint, all right? I'm letting the balsa wood, the nice tight fit of it, to be. All right. So I have it marked. I'm going to use my little Zona saw here and use my finger as a guide. Once again, guys, I'm going to cut just a little off my mark. Trying to keep that Zona saw as straight as possible. All right, here. And in theory, if I do this right, and I cut it right, and everything's all nice and square. Oh, that's going to work good. Guess I'm going to do a real quick test on the other side, because maybe I might be able to use this one as a clown. Oh, I'm close. I'm close, kids. I just need to change my angle a little bit. I'm keeping it square. Boom.
Kevin, I am going to check on the shipping to Canada. Our staff at the shop is really understaffed right now. We have said that we weren't going to do any international shipping at this point, but let me check to see if that includes Canada. I will get back to you on that.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we're close, boys and girls. Now, I did notice just by doing this stuff, and I'll change, my sandpaper is getting a little wore out, and all I've been using, guys, pretty much up this point is my 80 grit. And I can tell already from the fuselage I need to change, because I'm having to bear down on the wood. The sandpaper is not doing its job. And when you bear down, you tend to round sides or bevel it off wrong. So I just noticed that I'm trimming these parts. And once I get through here, I need to freshen up my sandpaper. All right, so I made my master for the horizontal side stab. It fits the other side just perfectly. So I'm going to use that as my clone, if you will. Arc it and cut it with the Zona saw. Perfect. That's the left one. This is the right one. The right one's in place. Then CA. She's in there. Hold that real quick. I'm going to throw a pin in it for giggles. All right, let's do the other side here. And we're going to just, I cut that one like I used to do, just a little long. Almost.
Yes, good point, Dale. Dale said this is where the foremost sander works out great.
Oh, yeah. And that's, Joe, what I remember you and I were talking off camera was that I know there was like a brother or a sister component to this, and I couldn't remember what the heck it was. And I didn't buy it. Like I said, I bought mine at a swap meet, and I think, I'll never use it. But you're right. That's where this would come in handy. All right, that's in place. Throw a pin in it. Fantastic. All right, now let's move on to the elevator. Our horizontal. I'll add my cross members in off camera. We're good there. That's no big deal. Basic frame construction is up. What I mean by cross members is my diagonals. And those diagonals are purely for strength and prevention of warping, but I'll do that off camera. Okay, I have my trailing edge, my leading edge down. That's gapped off at 1/16. Excuse me. I have my lamination parts, okay? We already talked about laminating, just enough thick CA in the middle to get them together. That thick CA also allows you a little bit of time to wiggle and move them around. If this is your first time laminating parts on your build, I do refer back to the beginning of the manual, and we talked about in step 1. Joe did a real cool video yesterday, I believe, on how to laminate parts using the pin method. I've done this enough, so I'm very comfortable just on the time frame getting parts in there, just how my hands work. So, but anyways, I have my first lamination down. Looks good. I'm going to pin that in place. Notice I'm not gluing anything yet. All right. Now, also, I'm paying very attention to where I'm pinning these parts down at. I'm not pinning them down to anywhere where I need to take a stick and say, for example, come from the trailing edge to there, so that the pin is not in the place. I'm paying very special attention to that. So that's just one of those things where it just comes into play on how long you've been doing this. That's all.
Yeah,
So
you
just
learn
little
real
things
quick
like that
not to
kind of
put your
cleans up.
pins where you are going to need to access.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So I have my lamination corners in place. They're not glued down yet. I'm going to actually get everything basically pushed or cut and in place, and then go with my CA and go bunk, 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 and all the way down. So,
And yes, he will actually
there's a
make
scrap
that
piece of
noise
quarter
when
by
he does
half.
it.
I'm sorry?
I said, and yes, he will actually make that noise when he does it.
Yep.
Bunk,
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 bunk.
bunk.
All right. So let's go ahead and for our lamination and cut down our customers. And here I already screwed up on a, I have to remove a piece here because I did exactly what I said I didn't want to do. And now I'm just working over my parts there. Once again, use my Zona saw, keep it vertical. And I am going to cut, guys, a little long on this one here because I know this is going to be a little bit of a fiddly part, but that's okay. I'd rather sand back and then get to it. So, and typically what's really cool with Balsa USA products, when they design those angles and those cuts, typically the part that you just cut off of and they're going to use for later, that angle is going to be the starting point of your next one. That's kind of how they design things around. So don't, if you got that cut right the first time, chances are it's going to fit in perfect the second time around. So just a little tip there. Yeah, my sandpaper is getting wore out. It's kind of crazy how you realize those things as you go along. All right, that one's in place. Once again, nothing is glued at this point.
Gary,
I'll make
just
sound effects when I glue.
Just to answer your question, I am planning on using the Dubrow hinges available at ballsusa.com. I'm going to use the smaller ones. That's going to be part number 493. We have both the quarter scale and the smaller ones. I would go with the smaller ones. And there's enough hinges in there to keep you in business for quite a while. You get a package of 15 for $5.69.
Okay. And like I said earlier, that cut that I just did on that, it fit perfectly and it lined up on the next reference point. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing the trailing edge of the elevator. My previous cut was for the side. A little long, but that's what I wanted. And I'm going to sand to it. And I'm using a Great Plains sanding block. That's what I've used before in the past. I use their self-adhesive sandpaper, which is getting a little bit harder to find for me. Joe makes his own sanding blocks and uses spray adhesive, which is probably where I'm heading. All right. That's in place.
You can actually make these sanding blocks pretty easy. So like Chuck was showing, I'm going to put mine up here. These kind of things are getting hard to find, these Great Plains sanding blocks. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that you can do. So you can go to the store and you can buy railing. So you can buy porch railing or stair railing. Buy one small section. And again, if you go up and you ask them, hey, can you have any stock that's broken or is bad that you can't sell? And you can probably get a real good deal on a piece of stair rail railing. That is perfect for making a sanding block. You cut them off to the size that you want. You spray adhesive on the glue, and then put the sandpaper on there, and the actual it's the rail for stairs is what it is, a stair railing, and it works great to make sanding blocks, and it will be perfectly flat on the bottom. I would check that when you get it and make sure that it is perfectly flat so that it's not warped or damaged, but that would make a good handled sanding block. I've got several of those.
Joe, do you use the permanent adhesive or do you use the removable adhesive?
Removable.
Removable. Okay.
Yeah, it's the removable. It's
I just want to put that out there because there is a difference.
Yeah, it's the red can of 3N spray-on removable adhesive, and when you get done with it, you can simply just peel it off. So like I've got my sanding block here. I can peel this back because I have more glue. If I need to get that off there, I can just peel it right off, put a new piece on, and glue it right back down.
Okay. All right. The cross members are measured. I have the last one in place. Kind of another neat thing about this miter block is it actually has a swivel arm for cutting your angles. So even if the angles were actually measured or called out on the plans, which would be kind of cool, I just thought of that. You could set it to go. All right, those are in place. I'm going to put a quick pin. And guys, at that point, other than adding my diagonals for strength, the horizontal is built. The horizontal and the elevators. I'll do, like I said, I'll do the second elevator half. Joe, how are we doing on timing?
We're doing real good. We're at 36 minutes.
Okay, so I have time to do diagonals, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to show this while we're talking about it. So this is one of the sanding blocks that I was talking about. I actually got this one at West Michigan Park Flyers, but it's the same thing. All this is stair rail, okay? And then we stuck an aluminum flat plate on the bottom. You don't even have to use the aluminum flat plate. Screwed it to the bottom, and that's a sanding block now. This stair rail is all you really need. And then you just glue your sandpaper to it. The aluminum block, if you have access, the aluminum plate is good to help make sure that it's flat, but it's not necessary. It works great. It makes a good sanding block.
Good. Okay, so guys, now what I'm doing now is I'm actually cutting in the cross diagonal members. And these diagonal members are purely for, these are strength, excuse me, and prevention of warps. And pretty much the best way to do these is just start laying the parts over where they go and start with a straight edge. Okay, that's what I'm using here, is I'm just eyeballing down it over the plans, and I'm just kind of tick marking it with my razor, all right? Because you're gonna have to cut, like, you have to cut this really funky angle. And I tick marked it a little long, remember, always sandbag too. So, and what I like about the straight edge is it's easier for you to sight down vertically, so you can actually get on top of it, and it tends to cut a nice, cleaner cut instead of doing a wave cut. Believe it or not, the number 11 X-Acto blades, they'll actually flex both horizontally and vertically. So I like the straight edge blades for doing stuff like this, and it kind of gives a nice, cleaner cut. Oh, we're close. We're really close. And guys, if I was building the other side of the elevator at this point, I'd take this, use it as my master, check against the plan, and save myself a little bit of time, and use that as my template for the other one, and it'd fall right into place. All right.
Yeah, Jerry, I do the same thing. Jerry Yari says, excellent how-to. I use the short and long Great Plains sanding bars. I have both, so I have all different sizes. I have like 8 different sizes of these.
Of those things.
But, you know, I was in the store looking around, and I thought, man, that would make a fantastic sanding bar. So I got some. I got a whole bunch of those, and I have them all with different grits so that I can have my sanding bars. The stair rail is cheap, so like for an 8-foot piece of stair rail, you could probably get 15 sanding bars out if that's what you want. I usually try to go ones that are damaged and just cut a short section out of them. I think I got my last stair rail for 49 cents or something like that. It was 50 cents or something.
And so guys, that's how I buy my ceiling tiles, because normally the big box stores want to sell ceiling tiles by the box. But lots of times the box either get damaged or guys open them up. I want to look at them, they knock the corners off of them. Once the corners are knocked off, they're useless for the ceiling tiles. But for us, it's perfect. Yep. Those are the ones I get, and I'll usually find somebody within the store and say, hey, how much for this damaged 4x8 square or 4x2 square or 2x2 or whatever it is, and it's going to be pennies on the dollar. And so that's when I grab all those I can.
I've got this bench covered with a 4x8 sheet of drywall, and it cost me $3 because it was damaged.
Yep, perfect. All right, cross members. Once again, I'm just doing my last cross member here.
Jerry says, measure twice, cut once, and sand.
And if anybody's followed Jerry's Facebook posts, he did a Nieuport. Jerry, I think you did a Nieuport 17, I believe, or was it Nieuport 24? I forget. He did a real excellent scratch built project of his own this past winter that I've been following him on Facebook. Very, very cool. Love this stuff. All right. Last cross member is in place. Tack glue down. Okay, guys. So at this point, our stab's built. I have one elevator built. In theory, I have the other elevator built. At this point, for me, I'll build the other half. I'll flip it. I'll sand it with the block, sand it down on the bench. Flip the other side, block sand it, tack glue it again. Remember that we need to glue the other side. I'll do that. But at this point, Joe's got some stuff. He's already jumped ahead of us on this. And there's a 1/4-inch dowel that we put in place, and that's what we use to join the two elevators together so that we can control the elevator by. There it is. That's a 24, Jerry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Nieuport 24. 27.5% scale.
Nice. Love that airplane. I was following him. I thought that was a 24. So, and any of you guys out there who are building a 1/6 scale Nieuport 17 with a little bit of work, a little bit of effort, and I'm sure some input by Jerry out there, you could turn this into a 24. Definitely in a sports scale side as well. So, anyways, I'm going to let Joe jump in here, and he's going to talk about how he joined the elevator halves using that dowel and where there's some discrepancies in the plans, and to make it an easier process for you.
Okay, so one of the things that I didn't feel like was a great call out in our plans, and this is one of the things that we'll be changing, just so you guys know, if you see anything in the plans that you don't necessarily like, if you would just send an email over to tech@bossusa.com, I will do my very level best to try to clarify what it is that we're talking about. I didn't feel like the pictures in the manual did this section really any good. I'm going to bring this up full screen so you can see it better.
Good.
So actually what you do is the dowel rod is inset in your laminations. So the idea is that the dowel rod fits inside these cutouts flush. So it's going to look like this when you're done. As you can see, it is inside. I know this isn't the right spot in the plans because I wanted to pull it out of there so you could take a good look at it. And that fits perfectly in there. And now I didn't modify the dowel at all. What I did notice is that the dowel rod was just a little bit longer than the call out in the plans. So I just adjusted my length on my laminations, and instead of cutting the dowel rod, I just left the dowel rod its complete length. I didn't figure that was going to hurt anything. And when it all comes together, it should look like this. Okay, so what I did was I don't use a lot of epoxy, but because this is going to get a lot of stress, I used 5-minute epoxy on this when I inset it, and it's perfect. You got to make sure that you still maintain your 1/16 of an inch gap. You're going to need that when you do your hinging, but it goes down inside there. And so I cheated a little bit. I'm going to be 100% honest. I have a bandsaw, and I just cut these out on my bandsaw. I marked them, and I cut them. What you could do is you could use the Zonasaw here. You could use basically whatever you have available. Just be real careful to mark it and cut it real nice and easy. If you're cutting this section with a Zonasaw, make sure you lay it on a flat surface. So get a cutting board maybe, because if you don't do that, you're going to wind up snapping this little piece off. It doesn't end up being very thick at all. So if you're trying to saw on this, make sure you have it on a backing board and saw into the backing board to make these cuts. So you're going to break that piece. Okay. All right. So that's how it is.
Perfect. And like Joe said, that part is a key integral part because we're only driving 1/2 of that elevator off of one servo. So we need them both tied together, and they're both made in nice tight joint. So make sure you do a really good job on that. Like Jerry said, measure 3 times, cut once. That nice tight joint, do a good job on that, and you'll be rewarded with safe and happy flying.
Yeah, and then Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I saw a question pop up. Ben, both of these kits that we're building on our end are both going to actually be electric powered. You could make them either, actually. There's a guy on here that said he was going to use a OS 46FX. That would fly it great. Both of our setups are going to be electric. Jerry actually came up with a great tip. Look at Jerry Yarish stepping up. Monaco backing sheets work great for plans protectors. I like that idea. That's a very good idea.
Hey, that is good. Thanks. And just so you guys, anybody out there knows, Jerry works for Model Airplane News. So anytime you're on those Model Airplane News, on those postal feeds, he's the guy that you're typically talking to.
All right. So, Chuck, did you have anything else, or we're going to move into hinging?
I think I'm good. You guys,
Okay.
Joe is going to jump in here on the hinging. I'm going to let him handle the hinge part since his is already built, framed up. Go for it.
So I wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, there's the finished product. And here it is. First off, what I wanted to show you was once I have everything all put together, and I can't find there it is. Once I had everything all put together, I went in here and made my marks for my hinges. Okay. So because I left the dowel rod, the length that came in, instead of cutting it, I had to slide this mark down a little bit from what was on the plans, but that's not going to hurt anything. Mark both pieces. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, I cheat a little bit, and I'm going to show you how as soon as I can find my cursor here. Get that off of there. I cheat just a little bit. So for me, I'm a safety guy, just so you know, and I have a couple of different ways that I do hinging. For me, it's all about trying to keep safe, and if there's anybody that's going to shove a blade through their hand, it's going to be me. Okay, so what I've done is, number one, this is my center line. So as you can see here, I've went in and I've made my center line on my wood. Okay, now what I've done to do that is I've actually used the Great Plains Center Finder tool. Okay, you can still find these at swap meets. You can still find them just about anywhere. It's a really, really, really simple and easy tool. All you have to do is, if I can get this up here where you can see it, is take the tool. It's got these little feet on it. Put the feet on both sides and twist it until it locks like that. And then once that locks on there, you can slide down that piece, and that gives you your center line. Super, super easy. You can find them at swap meets. I think you can still get these online, eBay. It's not going to cost you very much. Very simple, very easy. The other thing that I do for my hinging is I actually have a couple of these Great Plains slot machines. I know that they don't carry them anymore because they don't. But if you can find one of these at a swap meet, I actually have two, and I got these both for free. You know, club meetings, they'll be in a box. How much you want for it? Just take it. And I use this all the time. So that, to me, makes the hinging process a lot easier. So it took me, I'm going to flip this screen here. It took me about 6 minutes to get my hinges in to these pieces. Okay. I marked them. I cut them with the slot machine and put my hinges in. The other thing that I use, and I'm going to flip back, is I use our Zonasaw. So if you get our 4-in-1 Zonasaw available over at BossUSA.com, it comes with different blades. I use this little small blade to go in and open up the slot. And it's a lot easier than trying to use a blade or a hobby blade. And this is almost the exact right width. So for these Dubrow hinges, it's almost exactly the same. The Dubrow hinge is just a little bit thicker, but this blade, and it took me 6 minutes to completely hinge my pieces. It'd take me no time at all. I know a lot of guys use hobby knives, razor blades. If you're going to use that, please just be very careful. It can be a task. It can be a task not only to get them in the middle, but it can also be a task to keep from breaking stuff, and it can also be a task from not stabbing yourself. So those are just a couple of the extra added tools that I tend to keep on hand and use. And that's pretty much it. I already did if you go over to the Boss USA YouTube channel, there already is a episode on there for hinging. It's, I believe, under the leading edge. I'm just going to pull it up here since we've got time. If you go over to the Boss USA YouTube channel and you go over here to playlists and you go down to the leading edge right there. Oops, I didn't mean to click on that. Hold on. I don't want it to start playing. If you go to the leading edge, and you scroll down, there's lots of quick tips and tricks in here. A lot of these are going to migrate over to the Shop Time Live thing, but there's hinge repairs, and that hinge and repairs video is the same as hinging. I basically walk through how to hinge, how to repair, and how to do it with the tools that I've already mentioned. Okay, so there's some how-tos, there's some covering, there's laminating, some fun stuff. These are just the tips and tricks. And like I said, I think I'm going to have those migrate over to the Shop Time Live, so they're all in one playlist, but that's available. When you go over there, make sure that you take time to subscribe to the Boss USA YouTube channel. We need 3,000 subscribers, and we're going to give away a quarter scale kit of the winner's choice.
Nice.
Make sure you check it out. We're close. We are, and I'm just checking the numbers because I haven't checked them since we started. We are right now at 2.9K subscribers, so we need 100 more. And I'm sure there's a few more in there. It doesn't always give you the exact number, but make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click that bell, and you'll be entered in to win a quarter scale kit of your choice.
And guys, like we talked about earlier, I've built the quarter scale Nieuport 11 or Nieuport 17. I'm sorry. It builds almost identical to this one. It's just a little bit bigger, so you might need a little bit bigger table. Same tools, same adhesives, everything. It's just a little bit bigger. I really enjoyed my Nieuport 17. It's actually the one that's featured in the catalog on the quarter scale. That's actually mine, the one that I built. It scaled up really nicely, flew fantastic. That's why I was really excited when Joe and I were talking about doing something like this. I go, let's do the baby one. And it was after like the first or second night we're in the project, I called Joe and just said, this can build just like the quarter scale. If you can build this one, then your next step up, build that quarter scale.
Absolutely. And they fly great. The Nieuports really fly good. I would say on a scale, that's probably in all scales because we have this one in all scales.
Yep.
If you compare this to the pup, I would say the pup is an overall better, more docile flyer than the Nieuport. It's got some dihedral in the wing. I just feel like it flies when I'm talking about it flies better, I'm talking about by just a little bit. The pup tends to be a lot more floaty than
it's got a bigger bottom wing.
It's got a bigger bottom wing. It's getting more air. So
more airlines.
Yeah. So that would be my order of our kits because we have both of those in all three sizes. I would say pup is the best flying, and the Nieuport 17 is a close second. Nigel,
you're looking for that perfect touch and go evening stick and rudder kind of airplane. Man, the pup or Nieuport 17, great choice.
Yes, absolutely. Nigel, I apologize, but these kits are for team members only. We do have the awesome I Built That t-shirts. We will have some more coming up. We've kind of had to slow down on that a little bit with the whole global pandemic thing we're going through right now. But we do have some more versions of the Build Your Dreams t-shirts coming out. We will have those available. And we have the Build Your Dreams t-shirts are actually available on the website as well. This shirt that I have on, these are team member only shirts. We wanted to make a designator that we weren't going to make these for sale, at least not yet. All right, so we're about 1 hour in, so I think we are going to call tap out. I really appreciate everybody being here. I want to thank Chuck for his time. I know he's got as many things going on as I do, and it's all good. So we'll hopefully get Ronnie back next week. I think he's planning on being here Tuesday. His will probably be ready to go. and he's probably maiden in it today is actually why he's not here is my guess. No, not really. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank everybody for posing the questions. This is exactly what we're looking for. Feel free to ask questions. Make sure you swing over by balsusa.com and enter in coupon code N17BUILD, all caps, no spaces, to get 10% off of your very own Nieuport 1/6 scale Nieuport 17. Make sure you check out the Boss USA YouTube channel and hit that subscribe and that bell button. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, and that's exactly what it does. It goes ding. Ding. It's that handy dandy bell.
Next Tuesday, we're going to be building the rudder, which on a Nieuport 17, it's a full flying rudder. So there is no vertical fin. It's all one piece. So that will be next Tuesday. That'll probably be a little bit shorter night. There's a little bit less build on that compared to everything else. Then after that, we're going to get into the wings, the parts that make the thing go. So be ready. Make sure you, like Joe said, you subscribe to that, get the notifications. We're going to start building on the flying parts, and man, this thing's going fast. This one will be on its feet in no time.
Yeah, make sure that you join us next Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again on Thursday, same time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then back again on Saturday, 12 to 1 time slot. I'm looking at maybe this week, next week, and the week after, and this thing will be completed. So a couple more weeks, guys, and you guys are going to have airplanes that are ready to cover. So stay tuned. Keep with us. I appreciate you guys all being here. As usual, thank you very much for everything that you do. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and happy building.